Welcome into Dubs Talk Live, presented by Mancini's Sleep World. That's Dalton Johnson. I'm Zena, here to tell you about how the Spurs did a nice little two-line dance over the Warriors' 6-game win streak, snapped it, beating the Warriors 104-94. Tonight, if you turned your television off after the third quarter, you would have been a little bit confused when you saw the final box score. But Dalton, this came down to who started fast and who finished slow.
Yeah, this was a game where it's not always about how you start, how you finish. Unfortunately for the Warriors, started off really strong, finished really cold, really rough in those clutch minutes. Steph Curry, off night for him, didn't have it going. And then at the end, it just looked like everyone else just trying to figure out, okay, who do we turn to? If we don't have Steph, who do we have going right now? And unfortunately, nobody stepped up to the plate tonight. It felt like a game, again, second night of the back-to-back. You have a 36-year-old Steph Curry, a 34-year-old Draymond Green, looking like their ages, and the young guys just didn't step up. So a tough one to kind of wrap your head around for this entire game, like you said, Zena.
Well, the thing about it is, if you looked at the bottom of the third quarter, within that last 30 seconds, 2 clutch minutes, which is 5 minutes left in the game, 30-9 run the Spurs went on. And it was phenomenal play coming out of the Spurs. They were aggressive to the basket. They were ball movement all around the court. And Victor Wembanyama came to life. But let's talk about those clutch minutes, because that is something that the Warriors are very well accustomed to. Last year, the Warriors played a league-leading 48 clutch games and won 24 of them. This year, they're now 5-3 in clutch minutes. Dalton, tell me what exactly happened where the Warriors were not able to overcome the Spurs in these last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, number one, Victor Wembanyama, he had a superstar fourth quarter. He really did. He didn't have a great start to the game, his first game back from injury, so a slow start for him. And then you saw all the ways that he can influence the game. I mean, 7'3", taking that shot in a 3-point game, you don't see that. That's beyond a unicorn, right? And then the Warriors, as far as the clutch minutes go, you saw with about 5 minutes to go, Steph Curry kind of just ran into a wall. That was Victor Wembanyama. And then he got pickpocketed by Stephon Castle, a young, energetic, really defensive-minded rookie, a really good rookie out of UConn for sure. Looks like a winner in the NBA. And then, like I said, it just feels like everyone was very stagnant, very settling for everything. And this is a night where you had to have somebody be able to take over, go downhill, and create their own shot. And aside from Steph Curry, on the second night of a back-to-back, it looked like no one really wanted to take control of it. They were all looking for somebody else to get the job done. And that's just not the way any team's going to win. If you're a rebuilding team like the Spurs or a contender like the Warriors.
It definitely made me think of Jonathan Kuminga. You mentioned this in the postgame of just how valuable someone like him, who puts his head down, makes sure he goes at his defender, looking for the basket, would have been valuable in a moment like this.
100%. I think he was really missed tonight. Because you look at his shot chart on any given night, it was just a few nights ago where anything outside of the paint, he couldn't make. But right at the basket, that's where Jonathan Kuminga makes his money. And that's where the Warriors were even able to attack Victor Wembanyama early in the game. And that's where I was going, oh, this is going to be a good game for the Warriors, because they weren't being afraid by Wemby. They were getting after him. It kind of gave me a flashback to Cleveland when they were going against Jared Allen, going against Evan Mobley. And they wanted nothing to do with those big bodies. They got to the paint and then shied away and said no thank you. But early on tonight, they said we're either going to get Wembanyama up high and get him out of there, or if he's down low, we're going to get to his chest, because, hey, he's 7'3", but he's not a Shaq Sturdy by any means right now, right? True. So, I mean, you saw Moses Moody go at him. You saw Andrew Wiggins early go at him. And that was what I thought was going to be a sign of things to come. But in the clutch minutes, they weren't. And Wembanyama found that extra gear when the Warriors just lost any kind of gas that they were searching for.
That's exactly right. It feels as if the Warriors were stagnant, let go of all the energy they had left in the tank on the second night of this back-to-back, where the Spurs were at the gas station, filling up right when the time needed to be, where they needed to come alive. Now let's talk about Curry, because he was the person that needed to elevate them in those last 5 minutes, and really throughout the game was pretty quiet. Only 1 3 made in those clutch minutes, and then you add on Draymond's 1 of 2 free throws. Overall for the night, ends with 14 points, only 16 field goals attempted. Chris Mullin makes mention of how many times they need to get Curry between 20 to 30 field goal attempts per game, but this is where he's finding himself in this 15 to 19 range. How can the Warriors get him more attempts on the ball to be able to score?
It's a great question, honestly, because it feels like Steph Curry is kind of trying to feel it out right now.
Sure.
Kind of get his other teammates going, have some of those gravity screens, those sacrifice screens that he does for his teammates, right? Really help out the rest of his team to get them going, really try to empower guys like Andrew Wiggins, guys like Buddy Hield. But in a game like this where you're going, hey, we don't have a lot going. This is the second night of a back-to-back. You can't be seeing him only take 16 shots. In any player in an 82-game season, they're going to have an off night.
Every night,
Even
every night,
a superstar
exactly.
like Steph Curry, who's the greatest shooter of all time, he's going to have an off night. But whether it's Steve Kerr dialing it up, whether it's Terry Stotts helping him out on the bench, or whether it's the teammates on the floor, they have to find ways to create open lanes for Steph Curry because he does that for them so often. But when it needs to come down to those clutch minutes, they have to find ways to get Steph going, whether, it's an open three-point lane or whether it's finding Buddy Hield. I know that he had a fast start and a slow finish, but even maybe just the thought of him being on the floor towards the end might have helped out a little bit more to try to open some lanes up for somebody like Steph Curry because, again, in the end there, it just felt like a game of hot potato and somebody else. Please find a way to get this done.
The buck was passed several times at the end of the game. Now, I'll tell you who did decide to shoulder the task for the Spurs. That was Victor Wembanyama. Now, he had a slow start, and you can thank the work of Trayce Jackson-Davis and Kevon Looney for making things difficult for him in the first half. He only had 9 points. But by the end of the buzzer, he had 25. Mostly the damage was done in that fourth quarter. You look at this shot chart for Victor Wembanyama. 21 field goals attempted, only 2 were at the basket. This guy plays like a guard. He is handling the ball outside. There are screens being set for him. It doesn't make any sense. How do you assess what Victor Wembanyama does for the Spurs in terms of being just a variant of an offensive scorer and defender?
I mean, really, how do you assess it? That's the real question.
That's a good question,
At one point, he shot a 3 over Chris Paul, who was his teammate. Chris Paul was getting in the way of Steph, and he shot it over both of them at 7'3". It's something that we've never seen before. There's a part deep inside me that wants to go back to Boys and Girls Club, CYO, or something and go, get down there and use that length and get to the basket. But again, he's something that you've never seen. And I think him being on the Spurs is probably the perfect situation for them. They understand that, hey, they're not going to be contending for a title this season, so why not figure out what Victor Wembanyama has right now? Why not kind of play around with all this? They know that, sure, he can get on the block as he gets bigger, as he gets stronger, and get those easy points. But it's pretty amazing to watch, Zena. Somebody moving around the way he does, just his length, the way that he can both vertically and horizontally completely change a game. I just can't even wrap my head around it watching him for full 4 quarters sometimes.
It's surreal to think that Victor Wembanyama is in the top 15 for shots made or attempted between 25 to 29 feet. Top 15 in the league for shots attempted out there and not in the top 50 for shots attempted in 5 feet.
It doesn't make sense.
It's crazy. It's crazy. You can tell this is a guy that literally didn't realize he was going to grow to the size that he is.
Yeah, he's a point guard in a 7'3" body.
He's a point guard in a 7'3" body. Exactly. Now let's talk about the folks that were responsible for keeping him at bay. And for the most part, I think they did a good job. These are the Warriors' bigs, Trayce Jackson-Davis particularly, and then Kevon Looney. These two combined for 20 points, 15 rebounds. What's key about those 15 rebounds? 8 of them offensive, giving the Warriors extra additional chances at the basket. The Warriors ended up with 10 more shots at the basket because of this. This was the work of these two. Early on, they kept finding opportunities to attack the bigs. They were finding opportunities off the split action and the ball screen, pick and roll, but then things slowed down a little bit. What would you make of these two in their performance tonight?
I thought they had an overall really good performance. I mean, I really did. I love the clip of Buddy Hield finding Trayce Jackson-Davis for that bounce pass right there, where, again, the threat of Buddy Hield opens that up, and boom, instead of Buddy Hield trying to force anything, he hits a strong rolling Trayce Jackson-Davis. And I think that's where TJD has come on really strong as of late. Early in the season, yes, the field goal percentage was up for sure, no doubt about it. But I wasn't feeling the force of Trayce Jackson-Davis that we felt of him as a rookie. I thought
when he drunked on Victor.
Yes, exactly, 100%. I thought the loss at the Intuit Dome against the Clippers, they really missed Kevon Looney because they are much different athletes, much different players, but you miss that force that Kevon Looney brings. You miss the offensive rebounds that Kevon Looney brings. And then when you combine both of them, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You're able to get the running, the gazelle-like player that Trayce Jackson-Davis is, and then the brute force of Kevon Looney. But I really like how hard Trayce Jackson-Davis was rolling to the basket tonight, setting strong screens tonight. He was not afraid of Victor Wembanyama by any means down there in the post. So I think Trayce Jackson-Davis, you're feeling him, and the other teams are feeling him as well as of late, a lot better compared to the early season.
I really like that comparison. It's kind of a yin and yang
in the big,
in that you have this very athletic big that runs the floor well, rolls well, and then you, like you said, you have an enforcer in Kevon Looney. That's pretty cool to see the two kind of be foils for each other. Now, Andrew Wiggins. This is the guy where the focus has been. Earlier you talked about Buddy Hield being someone out there that can take some attention off of Steph. Lately, it's been Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, I mean, look, he had, another strong first quarter, 10 points right away, winds up with 20. And at the end of the day, you go, hey, fourth straight 20-point game, good for Andrew Wiggins, right? And the efficiency, that's where it started to really tail off as the game went on. And that's where I go back to kind of the settling, the stagnation of the clutch points of the fourth quarter. He took, I believe, 2 3-pointers in the fourth quarter where it just felt like, again, settling. Where I saw him at times in this game attack Victor Wembanyama, go to the basket. It's great when his 3-point shot is following, but I think that when you can see him attacking first and then letting the 3-point shot fly in rhythm, that's when you're knowing that his overall offensive game is in focus for Andrew Wiggins.
For sure. And I want to look at these numbers really quickly because you were actually the one that pointed this out to us. His numbers right now are lining up pretty nicely with the numbers of that championship 2022 season. What do you make of the fact that Andrew's on par with old Andrew? That what is exactly what the Warriors needed to be able to win a championship.
For Andrew Wiggins, it's always about the defense going over to the offense, right? I mean, 100%. Look, he has the natural ability to score 20 points per game. This is a former #1 overall pick. We understand that. But within there, man, when he locks in on defense and then it kind of carries over to your offense, you know that you're going to get 4 quarters of Andrew Wiggins. And tonight, I felt like maybe you had 2.5, 3.5, 3 quarters of Andrew Wiggins. You didn't get full 4 quarters of Andrew Wiggins. And you really can't say that for any of the Warriors tonight. They just didn't play a full 4-quarter game. But Andrew Wiggins, to be back to 2022 Wiggins, for him to be strong up here mentally, for him to be at ease with everything that he's gone through the last few years, I think it's a great thing for him personally and a great thing for this team as a whole. Because whether it's Steve Kerr, whether it's the teammates, they stuck with Andrew Wiggins. They stayed by his side when he was vulnerable, when he was having tough personal issues. And that means a lot to somebody like Andrew Wiggins. And I think now he's almost rewarding them, saying, hey, you rewarded me, you were there for me. And I think that he really took this offseason very, very seriously, put the time in the gym, and he knew I need to have a strong start. I can't start off slow and then go, okay, now it's January, February, now it's time for me to turn it on. No. He's turning the volume up from the start, and he seems like he's ready to keep cranking it to new heights game by game.
Another 20-point game from him. You're right, though. Started strong, 15 in the first half, only 5 in the second. Didn't love to see that he got no rebounds in the second half because that's really where the Spurs picked things up, being able to crash the glass, et cetera. But you're right. He has been playing with another level of focus, particularly when he has a hard defensive assignment that can lead and kind of galvanize him to turn it on offensively. Let's talk about another defensive player, Draymond Green. He's always going to do his thing, all right? But tonight's stat line is tough.
Yeah.
It is a very Draymond-esque stat line. 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 of those rebounds being offensive. But 0 for 5 from the field is very uncharacteristic of what we've seen of Draymond Green this year. He comes into this game 45.3% from three-point line, having multiple three-point games leading up to this. Now, the streak, he had a 5-game streak that ended where he had multiple three-pointers in one game. But last game against the Pels, three-pointers again, right? Like, he's capable of hitting these shots. So 0 for 5, I'm wondering, is this Spurs inflicted? Or is this Draymond inflicted?
I think it's really kind of second night of back-to-back inflicted more than anything else.
Yeah.
Those legs looked heavy tonight, Zena, and that's, again, understandable. This is a 34-year-old who has had over a decade of going against the biggest, strongest players in the NBA and holding it down. He has played at a Defensive Player of the Year level this season, and I thought that he had some really good flashes against Victor Wembanyama. He had a great sequence at the end of the first half where he got low. He almost used the counterbalance of going against a 7'3" Victor Wembanyama, not trying to play big with him, but getting low, using his legs, using his strength, getting under him, and then kind of swipe the ball away from Victor Wembanyama. On the other side, Andrew Wiggins hits a 3 in Wemby's face. So there were definitely flashes that go, yeah, you're going to get your 7-8 assists, your 7-8 rebounds from Draymond Green tonight. But yeah, it's tough to see the way he's shooting the ball this season, and he knows how much that affects the Warriors' offense.
Yeah.
He has said, hey, they're playing me different this year because they have to. I've proven it. And tonight, it felt like they kind of said, hey, continue to prove it, and unfortunately for Draymond and the Warriors, he just wasn't able to. He looked tired, his legs looked heavy, and when you have tired, heavy legs, that's when you see those kind of flat three-point shots, and that's what you saw tonight. It wasn't a lot of back rim, things like that. It was front of the iron and just not having it tonight in San Antonio.
He was a little tired. He put the backpack back on for them threes.
It was a heavy backpack.
It was a heavy backpack, but it's been a heavy load for him to carry going into the second night of back-to-back. But we still got to break down what happened with the Warriors' offense. Started 45% from the floor, and then all of a sudden, down to 30, down to 20. We got to talk about it on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Visit Mancini Sleep World for our Black Friday sale. Save big on premium mattresses plus free delivery. Hurry in now or visit us online at sleepworld.com.
All righty. Let's see what some thoughts are. All right, got a question for you from Catherine Gibson. Was it a surprise to lose to this team? You know there are some teams that you're not supposed to lose to. Is this one of those games?
Yeah, I mean, again, you look at the schedule and you're going, okay, rebuilding team, down a Devin Vassell, down a Jeremy Sohan. I mean, guys, again, they're shorthanded, but you get Wemby back, second out of the back-to-back, going from New Orleans to San Antonio. So it's tough to look and go, hey, they should win these games. I just don't see many scheduled wins or losses in the NBA anymore.
The parity is real.
The parity is 1,000%
and people show
real.
up to play the Warriors.
They always will.
Yeah.
If you have Steph Curry on the floor, you have Draymond Green on the floor, they are always want to give their A game against these Warriors.
Yeah, I agree. Nice to see Wiggins handle the scoring load 2 games in a row. Wiggs has been playing well, so lots of love for Wiggs tonight. And yeah, I mean, the Warriors should be able to win these types of games. That's kind of the thoughts around this. Let's see if we see anything else here. Only 1 point from Draymond tonight.
Yeah,
again, 1 free throw.
Again,
tough.
Yeah, we've seen games in the past where he has only 1 point, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Because he has such a big impact on the game tonight. And that's where I kind of go back to that second out of back-to-back where you go, man, every point is going to count.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where I think that you needed a lot more from the young guys. Draymond's not one of those, but you only get 1 point from one of your starters.
Yep.
That's going to hurt you. You can't have, out of your starting 5, someone just have 1 point.
Yeah. Welcome. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, presented by Mancini Sleep World. Got a little excited there because we got a lot to talk about, folks, particularly what happened offensively for this game and these Warriors. Let's start with the paint battle, because if you watch this game, particularly in that first quarter, things were looking pretty for the Warriors. They started the first quarter 50% from the field, and of those 50%, points were in the paint, 24 of them total, beating the Spurs 24-12. You just saw them attacking well, coming off of screens well, seeing each other well. Yet all of that slowed down. And I want to ask you, Dalton, when it comes to these sort of offensive breakdowns, how much can you give credit to the Spurs for getting in their face and their perimeter, because you saw some defensive activity, but then how much is that really on the Warriors not being able to manage this well, not playing through their fatigue well, and not being able to find ways to move the ball?
Yeah, I think there's not a perfect percentage point by any means, but I think maybe it's 50% Spurs, 50% Warriors, where I think that the Spurs made a good adjustment, no doubt about it. You saw early on the Warriors did a really good job of getting Victor Wanyama high, getting him out of the paint, and then attacking. And that's where you saw the strong rolls by Trayce Jackson-Davis, and also the fact that they were going at Wemby's chest early.
Yeah.
I really like to see that. You saw guys like Andrew Wiggins go after him later in the game. You saw Moses Moody, whose shot lately has not been falling from three-point range, but he still had a strong finish at Victor Wembanyama. But then as the game went on, and I really think about that final minute of the third quarter, and you think about any kind of momentum for a home crowd, the Spurs really built that up. In the final minute of the third quarter, they built the momentum, and you just saw kind of the air, the gas come out of the Warriors. And then Victor Wembanyama, it felt like he just got a whole different level. Whatever he had.
Something unlocked.
Yeah, exactly. Going into that fourth quarter, maybe it was Vic's secret stuff instead of Mike's secret stuff, right? He had it going in that fourth quarter, and you just saw the activity, the energy, where he was able to go up high, down low. Any way possible, he was in the Warriors' way. Because, again, early on, I thought Steve Kerr, Terry Stotts, they did a great job of getting him out of the way, getting him out of the paint. And then Trayce Jackson-Davis, Kevon Looney, so on and so forth, were taking advantage of that. But the Spurs did a good job of adjusting. And the Warriors, they ran out of gas, and they couldn't find the way to get the offense still humming, still going, right? Because we've talked about it. Second out of a back-to-back, you're not always going to have your legs. You can't just live or die by the three-point shot in these types of games. But the Spurs, they just have a different weapon down low in Big Vic.
You're right. When they did that split action, they did it so far out from the post that Wemby was out there that ended up being a ball screen, and then that's why he wasn't a factor anymore. You had the paint wide open. I also think the bench played a role. We don't have too much time to talk about it, but 14-2 was that bench score in the first quarter. Ever since then, just really downhill.
Yeah, no, this was a game where the bench needed to step up. The young guys needed to step up. You had Brandon Podziemski just continuing to struggle to find his shot. Jonathan Kuminga obviously was out tonight. We've talked about it. His legs, his ability to attack downhill would have been key in this type of game. Moses Moody, he's got to hit his three-point shot. It's been really off for a handful of games now. I even think about Lindy Waters, who's not same with that youth group, but he's in the starting lineup. He's a starting shooting guard, does a lot of small things really well, but the three-point shot has to be his fastball, and right now it is just slowing down a little bit, way too much. All
right, when we come back, we're going to talk about what the Warriors can do to take some lessons from this loss into some big games coming up. Of course, the Nets, but hey, OKC around the corner. All right, yeah, lots of folks, Bree Banks saying Warriors were tired tonight. So definitely could see the fatigue in the legs as they were going up and down the court, particularly in that fourth quarter. What was interesting, though, was Wemby also looked gassed.
He did. I think he might even asked to come out for a second.
He also looked tired. And then all of a sudden it was like he found, there was a gas tank literally underneath the bench because he found some energy out of nowhere. And you're right. I could hear, at one point I had to go to the bathroom in the fourth quarter. As I was coming back, you could hear the crowd cheers so loudly for their team. They were so excited, like, we're about to do this?
Yeah.
What? Like, this was very, very exciting for them overall.
No, you could feel, again, the momentum, everything was just rolling. It felt like an avalanche in San Antonio, right? The domino effect just rolling. That crowd was feeling it. The players were feeling it. And it looked like the Warriors were going, what do we do now?
Right.
How do we figure this out, guys? We got to find something. And again, it just felt like they were stuck in neutral.
Yeah. Other people saying, yes, that crowd was kind of low-key loud.
They were.
Now, what was interesting, okay, so someone says, can the Warriors keep a lead in games this year? What's interesting about that is last year, Steph Curry was the leading points total in clutch minutes because the Warriors literally couldn't keep leads. They were always fighting back. This year, he's not even in the top 50. So they are capable of keeping leads and keeping them so that they don't have to be in clutch minutes. But this was just one of those games.
It was one of those games, and it's one of those games where I still kind of juggle, okay, depth versus secondary score, and kind of trying to find a way to, as the season goes on, figure out which way do you go with whether you're Mike Dunleavy, so on.
Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, presented by Mancini Sleep World. So the Warriors lose tonight against the Spurs, 94-104. This is the second back-to-back set and the only one. They're it. They don't have any more, so they don't have to worry about that for the rest of the season. But there are some lessons that they can take into the next game because the Brooklyn Nets are a very similar team to the Spurs in that they are scrappy, that they will fight, and that they will not back down easily. And then they have to go on the road to take on OKC. That is probably itching for a win after the last time they played them. But oh yeah, folks, they got Hartenstein back. And now that is a really capable contender.
Oh, 100%. And I want to talk about the Nets game real quick because, yeah, this is one of those games. You look at the schedule and you go, okay, schedule win. There are not schedule wins in the NBA. The Warriors saw that tonight in San Antonio, but that's a big-time game to take advantage of. You get back home after a few games on the road in the Nets. They have Cam Thomas. They have Cam Johnson. They can catch fire really quickly.
Real quickly.
Make sure they have their extinguisher out because do not let them get hot. Don't do it because then that stretch, once the Thunder game starts, the schedule is not in the Warriors' favor, Zena.
Well, the Warriors are going to definitely need to get some sleep. They're probably on a plane right now on their way to New York. But overall, Warriors have to take this one, put it in the back. Remember that the next one game a week. That's what Trace Jackson Davis said. They want to get a win a week, and this is when they have to reset and restart. All right, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. Warriors unfortunately take the loss tonight, 94-104. But Dalton Johnson, Zena, Keita, we're happy to break it down with you guys on Dubs Talk Live, presented by Mancini Sleep World. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you guys later. All right, YouTube, let's shut it down. What's up?
Sounds like the Warriors' offense tonight. Shut it down in the fourth quarter.
It was. They shut it down a little too early.
They went over 5 minutes in the fourth quarter without making a single shot.
Yeah.
Not one. Not one.
It was rough. I mean, they were stuck at 9 points in that run for the longest.
Yeah.
It just sent, and it wasn't as if they weren't finding shots; they just couldn't hit them.
Exactly, they just couldn't hit them. And as I'm writing, I'm going, okay, they're going to figure it out. Okay, they're going to find a way to win. Okay, they're going to lose this game, and that's just kind of how it felt. Where, again, I think they're going to figure this out. We've seen them being a really good team this year, and then all of a sudden it just felt like no, there's every air is out of the balloon tonight.
And that's the thing. If you're Terry Stotts, if you're a coach of the Warriors, you can't be mad at the shots that were found. They were doing them for the most part. Towards the end, trying to find it within their offense and then rushing if they couldn't find something else. Because guess what? Kevon Looney, shout out to him, was getting offensive rebounds and giving them additional opportunities to get set up. But there were so many opportunities that they just felt as if they were rushed, right? Like they got them, but they were rushed and they weren't able to put the ball in the basket. And so it's one of those things like they're going to go back and film and they're going to look at the game and say it wasn't even the fourth quarter. It was the second quarter.
Yeah.
It was the second quarter when you should have been stacking on the progression of the first quarter that got you down.
It feels like it's one of those games where you're both going to learn from the film and also want to burn the film at the same time, right? Where it's like, man, one of those games, second out of a back-to-back, just a tough loss. You got to learn from it, but you want to burn it deep down.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, so no more back-to-backs, which is crazy because the Warriors had, I don't even know how many sets, last year. So they swept their first set, and they went 1 of 2 in this set, and that is it. According to Warriors media, there's no more back-to-backs. So let's burn the film.
Yeah, burning it.
Let's burn the film, folks. Shut it down. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll talk to you guys later.